Leicester City 2, West Ham 1. That Premier League season is finally over. Finally over. And I've got to be honest, it is, I'm sure you'll share it with me. I'm so relieved to the back of it. I really am. Look, I know that we've still got things to do this season. I can't wait. I'm buzzing for the Conference League final. But Premier League wise, it has been one of them seasons, isn't it? That it's just dragged and dragged and dragged. The World Cup has made it feel like it's... I actually feel like it's been about 2 years. It really does. That when you think back to when this season started, we started playing against Man City, and you think back to that day, it just feels like such a long time ago. Someone actually put up a funny statistic and said Ronaldo played for Man United in this season. Is that right? And I was a bit like, yeah, you know what I mean? That's how long this season's been. Crazy. But I'm so glad to see the back of it. So glad. It ends in defeat. Some people are a bit annoyed by the performance and a little bit annoyed by the result and all these kind of things. I get it because it's West Ham. You want to see us do well. We're West Ham fans. You don't want to see the team lose. I'm actually not that fussed. I don't think it was that bad, actually, overall. It wasn't, it wasn't wonderful. It wasn't terrible. We just weren't really up for it. But you can forgive the players, I think. I don't think you can ever go at the players for not giving 100%. I'm not saying that they weren't giving 100%, that they didn't care. They just weren't going to throw themselves into every challenge and really go, break their neck to try and get a result because they don't want to get injured. We're thinking about the final. We want to stay as fit as we can for that. We're safe. It didn't really matter. Overall, it would have meant a couple of places possibly in the league. It would have been nice to finish above Wolves, going to be another place. But at the end of the day, we're talking a couple of million quid for the club. It's not going to make a great deal of difference for West Ham. So as much as of course I wanted to finish on a result, of course it'd been nice to have got the 3 points and been, our mood being up ahead of the final, of course, but ultimately it didn't really matter. There is obviously the argument of momentum. Again, I'm not so convinced that it's going to make any difference. I really don't. I mean, bearing in mind we're not playing until the 7th, so I think it's 9 days' time. It's quite a way off. That's considering that what we've been used to this season, which is we've had pretty much 2 or 3 days between games most of the time, playing Wednesdays and Sundays, and we've been with such a compact season. The fact now we've got like a 9-day break between the next game, the players can now go away, recharge, and just focus on this final. I'm not that fussed about it. I actually don't think the actual performance was that bad. First half, I wasn't overly impressed, but second half, I thought we picked it up a little bit and played okay. This is my feeling, okay? I think if West Ham had pushed for it, we would have got a result. I'm convinced we'd at least got a point, possibly even won the game, because I think Leicester were quite vulnerable. But ultimately, we weren't going for it, and I totally understand it. Leicester City, on the other hand, need to talk about them. Relegated. For me, I'm going to do a separate video on this, myself and Riley. I'm recording with Riley again tomorrow. We're going to be doing our Player of the Year awards tomorrow. It's going to be interesting. We're going to go through all, not just the main player. We're going to go through every position. We're going to go through the best game, the best moments, and the special player award as well. So I'm looking forward to doing that. But I'll tell you what, another video we are going to do is regarding Leicester and Leeds, but particularly Leicester, actually, more than any other, is because I really feel that's a warning to West Ham. It's a warning to a lot of clubs, actually, their plight and what's happened to them. That is the prime example of what happens when you take your eye off the ball. They have sat back and relied. They've let go of key players. They've let go of Schmeichel. They've let go of key leaders in that dressing room and basically kept their fingers crossed and gone, yeah, it's just that'll do. We've got enough in our squad to be okay. That is the total example of if you don't build, if you don't keep being forward thinking and trying to push your club on, that's what happens. They've gone from a club that's won the league 7 seasons ago. I mean, that's not a long time. That is not a long time ago. Won the Premier League. They've won the FA Cup 2 years ago. I mean, let's be honest, at the start of the season, when you predicted the table, Leicester City would have been the top half. I don't think there's many people that would have said they would be down by the bottom of the league. And especially, I would be surprised anyone would have suggested Leicester getting relegated. But there you go. We've seen it before. West Ham have been there. But now that is a warning to West Ham. A warning to say, this summer, you get it right. You get it right. You make sure you get your recruitment spot on as best as you can. Do not be willy-nilly. Don't be casual with it. Don't just go, oh, yeah, it doesn't really matter. We'll be okay, because that's what can happen. So, a strange game, very strange in terms of the atmosphere, because it was like a carnival, West Ham's end, really. It was just a total party time. Everyone just totally up for Prague. And it was weird, watching a game of football where really the result didn't matter and watching a team that was so desperate to get the result. And as much as we poked fun at them and had a bit of a laugh, as we do, West Ham fans, I actually did feel sorry for Leicester. it must have been very painful for them. I'm sure that like we would be quite shell shocked at what's happened to them. Back down the Championship. Very, very sad to see. And dare I say, I think getting rid of Brendan Rodgers was a mistake overall for Leicester. I actually think if he'd have remained at the helm, I think they probably would have got away with that. I think they would have got them away from the bottom. Like David Moyes, I don't think they'd have thrown up the table, but I think they would have just clawed their way out of it. I think that the appointment, not even go Dean Smith, but I just think it wasn't really needed, that change. That's my opinion anyway. I'd like to know what your thoughts are on it. But here, obviously, we're not here to talk about Leicester. We're talking about West Ham. But there is one thing actually I do want to mention about Leicester before I do go on to that is Harvey Barnes. He is a target for West Ham, absolutely no doubt about it. X has confirmed it. Bearing in mind this is early, though, very early days. I mean, we don't know where we're going to be yet. Are we going to have European football? We just don't know. We don't know the manager situation. We don't know about the director of football. There's a lot of things up in the air at the moment at West Ham. But Harvey Barnes is a target. There is some meat to that. That is coming from a lot of people. And I've got to say, if that's his sort of rehearsal for us, or audition, should I say, it was audition for West Ham. He really impressed. I thought he looked good. Great goal from him. He works hard. He just reminds me of Jarrod Bowen. He's just another version of Jarrod Bowen. He's got a lovely finish to him and a good all-round player. If that's the sort of player we're going to be looking to get in the summer, I'll be very pleased. Very, very pleased. I actually thought he played really well. A couple of players I want to mention for West Ham. I'm not going to go into too much detail about this. I want to talk about this in another video in terms of our recruitment this summer and mainly the players we need to get rid of. I think there is some deadwood at West Ham we do need to clear out. There's going to be some changes anyway. We know we've talked about Declan Rice. I'm not going to talk about that. But Lanzini looks like he's going. But there's a few others I think should be going as well. But before I talk about that, I want to mention Pablo Fornals. Another decent-ish performance. I don't think overall he was brilliant, but a lovely finish, good goal. And you've got to say, he's knocking on the door, isn't he, for that final? I don't know if he's done it. I don't know if he's done quite enough, but I think he's put his name in the frame. I think David Moyes has stated that as well. So really pleased with him. Lovely seeing him get back on the score sheet. It looks like his tail's up again for now, and it's come at a very good time for us, considering the fact he's had such a poor season for his standards. I'm really, really pleased for him. One player I want to mention, though, is Danny Ings. I'm really disappointed with him yesterday, actually. Really was disappointed. I was watching it with X, actually, and I said to him, I'm looking forward to seeing Danny Ings come on, because I actually thought Antonio was particularly poor. But when I say poor, I actually felt he was a player that you could clearly see wasn't really going all out for this. He was probably thinking, I don't want to pick up a muscle injury. I'm not going to be charging around the pitch like a lunatic. And I totally get it. And I said to X, I don't know why really Moyes has picked Antonio. He didn't really need to play him at all. I'd rather just see Ings play, because Antonio's clearly just trying to protect himself today. He's not going to go all out to do everything to win the game. I get it. He doesn't want to get injured. So I was really pleased to see Danny Ings come on, because I thought in the previous game against Leeds was probably Danny Ings' best performance in the West Ham shirt overall. I thought he looked really good. But he was poor, really, really poor. And missed a couple of real good chances. And you think that's what we brought you in for. I'm starting to think that possibly he'll be a player that I would like to offload, I think, this summer. I really do. I think he's on a very high wage. I don't think he suits West Ham. And vice versa. I think the player and the club just don't match. They don't marry at all. It's not working, in my opinion. And I think if we are going to have a bit of a clear out this summer of a few odds and sods and players, we want to raise funds, which is apparently this is what X is now reporting. We're looking at the club aren't going to be pumping tons of money into the transfer kitty. A lot of it's got to come from player sales. And I actually do think that Danny Ings needs to be one of them, to be honest. He doesn't fit our system, and that was a performance that just made me think. That just highlighted it. And the fact is, he actually had a couple of decent chances. And you'd think someone of Danny Ings' caliber, who we know should be scoring goals like that. I mean, we could have won the game if we put them away. So I was really, really disappointed in him, actually. But I'm not here to moan. Look, we have got a massive final coming up. That's all this is all about now. Let's forget everything else. The season is done. That horrible slog of a bloody Premier League season is over. We can draw a line under it. We don't have to worry about it anymore. We're in the Premier League next season. We can go again. But all it matters now is Prague. And that is a wonderful feeling. But I want to quickly go on to a man of the match then. So we'll do our top three as we usually do. In third place for me was Declan Rice. Another decent performance from Rice. He's always plays well, doesn't he? Again, like many other players, probably not at his 100% commitment level, not going to be charging around the pitch. He's not going to be throwing himself into every challenge. And as I say, I know I'm repeating myself here, totally understand it. And if I was a footballer out there, I think I'd have the exact same mindset. You're not saying you're not going to care and you're not going to try your best, but it's a 50-50. You might think, yeah, I'm not going to go completely all out to win that. I'm not breaking my ankle. No way. You know, the last thing I want is an injury now. So I think I totally get that. But I thought Rice, all in all, played well. Thought very good on the ball. Number 2 came off as a great reception. It was really good to see, actually. And he gave it back to the fans in terms of clapping the fans back was Lucas Paqueta. Just a wonderful, talented player. He does things sometimes that a bit frustrate me, though. I've got to admit, he does things that are so difficult, so hard to do that, you know, most footballers would only dream of being able to do these things that he can do with football. And yet sometimes he can't sort of play like a really simple pass. You know what I mean? It can be a little bit frustrating like that sometimes. But again, I love watching him play. And I've got to say, when you think of next season and players that you excite you, and there are a few, but he is one that I look at and think, can you imagine what he's going to be like next season now? Now he's had his first year under his belt, bit of experience. He's got a summer to settle down, hopefully looking at that winners' medal in his cabinet and getting ready for a new season, because he could be a really special player for West Ham. He actually reminds me of Di Canio a little bit, a bit of a Payet Di Canio feel about him. You know, we love those sort of players, but what I love about him more as well, Paqueta, I know I'm going to start off on a tangent here, but I'll get to the point, is that I like the fact not only has he got this flair and this ability, and he's getting that confidence now and dictating games and opening things up, but it's his work rate. He works so hard, like he just gets so stuck in, and he chases the ball down well. He's not frightened to tackle in, and I'm really starting to think that this is a really special player, and one we should just enjoy having at West Ham. And next season, I'm very excited about. He got number 2. Number 1 for me was Fornals. As I said a minute ago, it wasn't his best performance, but the fact I thought he took the goal really well, and I thought his overall play was pretty good. He works hard, and I can just see that there's that confidence oozing from him at the moment. He's starting to getting his swagger back. We're starting to get that Fornals we had, not this season, but the season before, where he played such a pivotal role in our Europa campaign, and it's just great to see. And he's just such a likeable guy. And I spoke about this. Oh God, it's got to be a couple of months ago now about Fornals, and I didn't do a video particularly on it, but I'd mentioned it in a comment and said that maybe this would be the year that this would be his final season at the club. Maybe it's time for him to move on and But I don't think that would be the case now. I really think he's stamping his mark, making his his mark at West Ham again. He's getting his place back in the squad, in the team, and starting to be a key player for us again. And who knows, maybe he will be in that final. But yeah, he's the one for me to got man of the match. I think he deserves it. I'm so pleased for him. So pleased. And look, the season's done. We can draw a line under it. And now it is all about Prague.